Rufaro Stadium, and this is where the former President Robert Mugabe is lying in state today and tomorrow in particular, and this gives an opportunity for mourners to pass by and pay their last respects to the former president. So this is the image that's coming through, as I said, from Rufaro Stadium, which is, I think, now the second largest stadium in Zimbabwe after the National Stadium. And people there, as you can see, Zimbabweans will probably over the next 2 days come in their hundreds of thousands to pay their last respects to former President Robert Mugabe.
Choir. Thank you, choir. Taikumbira tose Twitter board viewing. Takawanda zvikuru vari mustadium nevakaita queue kudhara panze. Chokutanga varume vese vakapfeka mabareta neheti dzavo vasiri mapurisa kana masoja. Kana taakusvikapo ngatibvisei nguwani dzedu. Chechipiri taikumbira hongu tine discipline tiri macomrades. Ngatiregei kubresa, ngatingofambai. Chechitatu vamwe vada kunamata muzita rabandere mwanakomana mweya mutsvene, hatina nguva yekuita izvozvo. Ngatingofambai tichingota fly past tichiona former president vedu. Tinotenda.
An announcement from what appears to be the program director, essentially telling people to keep moving. They don't have time for people to stop and gaze, but rather just keep moving. If you want to pray, pray, but keep moving, don't stop. No doubt there will be many people filing through, viewing for the last time and paying their last respects to former President Robert Mugabe. This is the president for 2 days lying in state, giving an opportunity to Zimbabweans who want to come and say goodbye to their president of so many years. Many of the people that you're seeing here were born in a time when President Mugabe was president and have spent their entire lives being led by the first liberation head of state, post-liberation head of state of Zimbabwe. All right, that's the image there now of the former First Lady, Grace Mugabe, as she sits watching over the viewing process where people are passing by, marshalling by, and paying their last respects to Robert Mugabe, who died in Singapore, having spent a bit of time there We heard from his nephew just the other day that it was only in the last 10 days that he was in hospital, but he had been there for some time and that he didn't go there initially to receive treatment. But this is an opportunity, as I said, for Zimbabweans for the next 2 days to get a moment with the president very briefly as they walk past. Some are bowing, some are showing signs with of the cross. Robert Mugabe, of course, himself a devout Catholic, having been educated by Jesuits at one of the more famous Jesuit schools, Kutama College, many, many years ago, that produced many of the Zimbabwean politicians and captains of industry, had gone to that college themselves. And so Catholicism is what he knew, and it's quite likely that on the Sunday we'll probably hear from the top-ranking Catholic bishop in the country to say words over his funeral.
Tinotenda vemhuri nema-VIPs vapera. Iko zvino yasvika nguva yekuti tose tichiuya, asi inzwai mawiro atichaita. Tichatanga nekusaidi kunonzi Kumbare End. Kumbare End. Ndokwatichatanga. Ndaikumbira mapurisa vedu muronge vanhu vedu atange kudzika vachiuya muchivaregulate vachitanga kufamba vachibva Kumbare End.
All right, so what you're seeing now is the program director essentially telling the people in the stadium. This is Rufaro Stadium, which was the main stadium in the country for many, many years. And in fact, this is the stadium that Prime Minister Robert Mugabe took over as the Prime Minister of the country on Independence Day on the 1st of April 1980, 18th of April 1980. And so this is where he's lying in state. And what we've just heard from the program director is he's directing a number of people in various parts of the stadium to take their turn to come through. So those at the Mbare end, Mbare is one of the main townships of Harare, and Rufaro Stadium is actually in that part of the city, are being ushered now to towards where the viewing is taking place. And so it's very carefully coordinated to make sure that the right numbers of people are passing through in a dignified way to be able to pay their last respects. So President Robert Mugabe, we believe, is going to be buried on Sunday, although there are now reports that are floating around suggesting that the family has met with President Mnangagwa on Thursday, today, to discuss funeral arrangements. So we'll probably hear more about that. But there seems to be reports that he may not be buried on Sunday, and that there could be a private funeral that won't be made available to the public. So we'll have to wait and see whether these details hold water, but this seems to be doing the rounds at the moment. We're hoping to try and get hold of one of our reporters on the ground, Chriselle de Lewis, to see just exactly what has been discussed. There had been a lot of speculation even about where he's going to be buried, whether he's actually going to be buried at his communal homeland or at the Heroes Acre. All of that still unfolding, but what we know for sure is that Zimbabweans are paying their last respects to Robert Mugabe, who died in Singapore. A man who was president of Zimbabwe for 37 years since independence, and was credited for many gains, such as in the education field, one area that he was very passionate about. When people remember Robert Mugabe, some will have very fond memories, and others perhaps will have their own thoughts about what his legacy will be. But certainly what cannot be denied is the influence that he had, not just in the region, but on the continent as a whole, where people looked to him and respected him. A short while ago, the EFF had a special memorial service for Robert Mugabe, heaping praise on him. And the EFF leader actually shared a thought about a moment that he had with the president when he himself was ousted from the African National Congress. He went to Zimbabwe, and the president there said to him, "Listen, if you don't want to go back, you are welcome to stay with us here in Zimbabwe." So EFF leader saying that he has good memories of this man who should be hailed as a true Pan-Africanist. As of yesterday, we believe that as many as 11 sitting heads of state have confirmed their attendance. Those numbers are likely to increase in the coming days as the funeral arrangements, final funeral arrangements are determined. The family, we believe, meeting with the president today because they came back from Singapore, you'll remember yesterday, when the body came back yesterday afternoon. Hopefully we'll have more details for you by day's end. But the original plan that we were told is that Sunday would be that official funeral. But what you're seeing now on this stadium is people coming through. As the president yesterday called, he says, please come in your hundreds of thousands and in your millions to say goodbye to the founding father of Zimbabwe, the free and independent Zimbabwe.
Jesus. Marino Fadza Zieta Rapa Moyo Zichapera Zichapera Rini Namo Haywandiwa Nerufaro Warubeni
All right, if you're just joining us and just tuning in, these are images that are coming through live from Rufaro Stadium in Harare. And this is the second biggest stadium, I think, in the country. And it is where hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans, we believe, over the next 2 days, will have a last opportunity with the former President Robert Mugabe as his body lies in state for this final viewing. Funeral arrangements are still being made, but over the next 2 days, certainly, they will be having this opportunity to get close to the man who was president for so long. And many of these people here probably will never have gotten this close to him during his presidency, but for one last opportunity, one last time, hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans will be able to say goodbye to this man who was born in rural Zimbabwe, of a Shona family, and spent his early career as a teacher, Southern Rhodesia, and also as far as Ghana, where he met, of course, his first wife, Sally Heffron, who was the First Lady for a time before she passed away. And you would have seen images here on this channel a while ago that he spent some time here in South Africa as well, studying at Fort Hare. And not so long ago, he was celebrated there when he returned, I think a few years ago, I remember. And when he walked into the university hall, the cheers were just quite deafening. So always popular on his visits here to South Africa. People remembering him as a person who stood up and was not afraid to speak his mind, particularly to Western powers. So that's what you're seeing now. People in Harare, probably coming from many parts of the country over the next 2 days to pay their last respects. The former First Lady, Grace Mugabe, is there with her sons as people are filing through and very briefly having their last opportunity to say goodbye to the former president. We'll have more reports for you from Harare. We've got a team on the ground there covering this story, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a bit more in terms of just what the funeral arrangements will be, and give you more images of these last farewells to the former president. Now, EFF leader Julius Malema has slammed perpetrators of attacks on foreign nationals. He was speaking at a memorial service for the late former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. Malema says that a recent spate of attacks on foreign nationals is tantamount to self-hate. He said that there are no borders in Africa and that not all Nigerians are drug lords.
You are a foreigner.